Okay, at this point, guys, I'm going to go to the calculator and I'm going to enter this data. So to enter a matrix, you're going to go to second, and then this x to the -1 key also says matrix right here in blue. Press that. We are going to edit matrix A. So go ahead and click enter on edit and A. You have to tell the calculator how big the matrix is. So we said earlier, this is a 3 by 3. So as you push in those numbers, it is going to, um, you know, input the cells. They all just say 0 right now, but just make sure that the size of your matrix matches the one that you have in the prompt. So if you reverse those two numbers, you should be able to tell that the size of the matrix doesn't match. Okay, we're going to go ahead and enter those numbers. So 15. Okay, so I went ahead and I finished entering all of those numbers into matrix A. So now we go to stat and over to tests, and we are going to pick, this time everyone has it, it's the chi-squared test. So it's letter C in my calculator. If you have the TI-83, it might be a different letter, but you will still have this one. Okay, go ahead and click enter there. It's going to ask, did you put your observed values in matrix A? We did. It is going to automatically calculate those expected values and place them in matrix B. So I'm going to go ahead and click calculate. I get a test statistic. So this is step number 3. My chi-squared test statistic value is 3.006. The p-value for this test is 0.5569. Okay, so P is greater than alpha. So P is not low. So our decision is do not reject the hoe. Okay, so if we're not rejecting the null hypothesis, that means we're keeping that null hypothesis idea, which, if you remember, we wrote the null hypothesis was the two things are independent. So to answer the question, can the sociologist conclude that the years of college education are dependent on the person's location? No. So at alpha equal to 0.05, we cannot conclude that the years of college education are dependent on the person's location. We're concluding that they're independent. One more thing that I just wanted to point out before we move on to the U-try example. If we go back into that matrix menu, notice, guys, that matrix B is now a 3 by 3. So if I go down to matrix B and just click enter, it's going to show me all of those expected values that we calculated by hand earlier. So even though the calculator will calculate those for us, we need to have an understanding of how the calculator is getting those values. So that's why I wanted to go through how do we get those expected values for that first example. Okay, here is the next example. This is a U-try. So take a look at this example, pause the video, see if you can go through the 6 steps, and then unpause the video to get the solution. Okay, hopefully you had enough time to pause the video and we are back. The null hypothesis is that alcohol consumption is independent of gender, or there is no relationship between alcohol consumption and gender. And then the alternative hypothesis is that there is a relationship between alcohol consumption and gender, or they're dependent. Okay, step number 2, our critical value. We have an alpha of 0.10. Degree of freedom, I calculated up here. That was 2 degrees of freedom. So my critical value from the chart is 4.605. Okay, guys, I went to second x to the -1, or second matrix. And you can just go over to edit and just rewrite how big it is right over top of the other one. So Unfortunately, you can't clear the matrix after it's in there. You just write over it. So I just 2 enter, 3 enter, and then put my new numbers in for that matrix. So don't worry that the other one is still there when you go in there. Okay, after we enter the observed values in matrix A, we go to stat, over to tests, and it's the chi-squared test. You have to enter matrix A. The calculator will calculate matrix B for you. Okay, so go down here and calculate. We got a chi-squared test statistic value of 0.28, a p-value of 0.869. That p is not low, so we do not reject the hoe. So at alpha equal to 0.1, there is not enough evidence to say that alcohol consumption is related to gender. All right, guys, this concludes chi-squared independence test for today. Questions go in the discussion board and take a look at the assignment that is posted.